Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be doing a follow-up video to yesterday's breaking news that HBO Max is going to be putting out, or rather Warner Brothers is going to be putting out its entire 2021 slate of films straight onto HBO Max first for a month, and then after that month putting it out into the US marketplace theaters, which of course is going to be devastating to the theaters. Even if they were going to release it at the same time in both theaters and HBO Max, it would still be devastating. Now, some people I think have been mixing up the stories a little bit, because right now the plan for Wonder Woman is for them to release it same day in select theaters and also on HBO Max, but the announcement yesterday specifically pointed out that for all of the 2021 releases, they are going to do it a month exclusive on HBO Max. It'll then be taken off of HBO Max, and then it'll be put out into American theaters. Now, when it comes to other countries, they are going to release the movie usually on basically the same schedule they had been previously in other years, meaning that they're going to release it on the same day. As soon as it's released on HBO Max, it'll be released in international marketplaces in their local theaters there. And so when I say that theaters are going to die, when I say that theaters are on the process of dying, and I know some people have said they've been on the way down for a long time, which is true. People have been, if you've been following me for a while, I said originally, and this is before COVID, I said, I think movie theaters probably have another maybe 10 to 20 years at most before things really start to go downhill. Once COVID was released in the swing of things, I said, all right, maybe within the next 5 years. Now it's like, okay, within a year or two. And by theaters, what I mean is not that every single theater in the entire United States is going to be completely gone, but that the modern concept of the movie theater is going to essentially be away, right? Is essentially going to disappear. No longer are we going to have the big box office weekends. No longer are we going to have the massive midnight showings, the massive, obviously those have ended for a while now, but the massive 7 p.m., 8 p.m. showings of big giant releases, right? That is now a thing of the past. Now, some people might say, yeah, you know what, who cares? There's more important things in the world. And again, I think that you would definitely be right. But as someone that is a movie buff, as someone that loves movies, loves going to the cinema and having that experience, having the popcorn, the drink, the giant IMAX screen, the giant Dolby Vision screen, if I can. Fortunately, I live in an area where I don't have Dolby Vision. It drives me crazy because the image is so good. It is something that is very frustrating, and it's also something, as we're going to see in today's news, frustrating for now. Now we have actual words from the movie theater, the movie chain owners themselves. But before we get into what they have to say, please make sure that you smash the like button, hit that subscribe, and also hit the bell notification. Make sure all notifications are on, so that way you know every time a new video goes live. And please share this video, because that is how we continue to grow on this channel. And so the first thing we're talking about is AMC's boss, AMC CEO Adam Aron, who has slammed Warner Brothers' HBO Max 2021 theatrical window concept, studio sacrificing considerable profit. So basically, he's taking it from the point of view of, one, hey, you're screwing us over. We've been in a great deal, a great relationship for a long time. You're screwing us over in the process, and let me just go ahead and tell you, you're sacrificing your own profits, right? So he's trying to make the point here that this is a bad financial move for HBO Max. I think that one could argue really one way or the other, because remember that this is going to lead to a huge increase in subscriptions to HBO Max. Could be even more if they finally figured out how to get onto Roku. And again, I'm going to call you out, HBO Max. Get that Roku stuff figured out if you really want to get even more people signing up for it. But they're going to get, again, raw profits from that. They get 100% of that income when people sign up for that $15 a month. They're only going to have it on for a month, so it's going to incentivize people to sign up very, very quickly. And because they're going to be doing this staggered release of other brand new films every single month, essentially, that means that they're going to have people stay on the service for several months. So $15 times however many new subscribers plus the ones they already have, it could be incredibly profitable for them. However, I do think that Adam Aron here does have a good point, because when you look to the margins that these studios would typically make when having a giant film like a Wonder Woman get released out into theaters, both the United States and worldwide, those profit margins could be gigantic. Now, remember also that they are still releasing internationally, and so they can still get a huge piece of the pie, because international marketplace is indeed where most of that money comes from. The big difference, of course, is that they get much less of that international take, especially in places like China, where they tend to only get 25% of the box office there. Overall, the average is typically around 40 to 50% of the take, whereas in the United States, it's closer to 60 or 70, and normally the averages seem to be around 60% of what the studios actually get with the end result. But let's go ahead and dive into what Adam Aron has to say here. This is, of course, an article from Deadline. AMC boss Adam Aron has weighed on Warner Media's news about debuting its entire 2020 theatrical release slate simultaneously on HBO Max. He isn't happy camper. He is not a happy camper. Wonder Woman 1984 as a one-off was fine, but the chain expects to fight hard when it comes to the terms. Here's what Aron had to say today. These coronavirus-impacted times are uncharted waters for all of us, which is why AMC signed on to an HBO Max exception to customary practices for one film only, Wonder Woman 1984, being released by Warner Brothers at Christmas when the pandemic appears that it will be at its height. However, Warner now hopes to do this for their 2021 theatrical movies, despite the likelihood that with vaccines right around the corner, the theater business is expected to recover. I don't think that's going to happen. Clearly, Warner Media intends to sacrifice a considerable portion of the profitability of its movie studio division and that of its production partners and filmmakers to subsidize its HBO Max startup. As for AMC, we will do all in our power to ensure that Warner does not do so at our expense. We will aggressively pursue economic terms that preserve our business. We have already commenced an immediate and urgent dialogue with the leadership of Warner on this subject. As this issue gets sorted out, we are nonetheless encouraged that vaccines protecting society at large against coronavirus are very much at hand. So it is our expectation that moviegoers soon will be able to once again delight in coming to our movie theaters without worry, viewing the world's best movies safely in our big seats with our big sound and our big screens that hopefully work most of the time, but also without having to wear a mask walking around the theater, though, of course, if you just have a drink in your hand the entire time, you don't have to worry about wearing one. But again, very strong words there, and I imagine what you'll see is one of two things. Either AMC, Regal, Cinemark are going to be able to get pretty good terms with the studios, though I think that that's actually less likely to happen because at this point, right, HBO, Warner, they have the upper hand, right? They have the high ground, as it were. And I don't think that AMC is going to win this battle. But what could happen is you could see Warner say, all right, we understand we're kind of screwing you over here. So what we'll do is when we release it into theaters, you will keep a vast majority of your profits. Basically, the majority of your profits will be kept, and that will be all fine and dandy, and we'll just get a little bit less than normal. Again, typically you find it that studios usually get around 90 or 95% of opening weekend. The first 2 weeks they get from the movies themselves, and the movie theaters only get about 10%. I imagine that with this new deal, studios or rather theaters will try and push to say we need to at the very least get a 50-50 split of those revenues and maybe even more. We'll have to, of course, wait and see how that pans out because obviously these theaters need to help themselves out. They need to be able to survive. So that's one thing that could happen. Now, let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say that the studios play hardball and say, yeah, maybe we'll only take 80% and give you 20%. That'll be okay. And the movie theaters will be like, no, that's not enough still. Well, then how do they make up for that? This is something I think is more likely to happen. You will see an increase in ticket prices. You will see an increase in popcorn and soft drink prices, which are already too high in the first place. Seriously, way too dang high in the first place. It's insane. And so with all of that stuff going on, with all that stuff happening, I think that the theaters are really in a bad position and could get really hurt by all of this. And it goes on. We heard that the major exhibitors today received an hour's heads up from Warner Brothers before the news broke. Some smaller exhibitors learned only 7 minutes prior to big HBO Max's theatrical window news. By and large, many exhibitors are not happy to see this move by Warner Brothers as doomsday. Obviously, they don't care about theatrical anymore, one rival exhibition boss said. And yeah, that's absolutely true. Warner's apparently is being comfortable on terms with exhibition for 184, but theaters will fight hard on everything thereafter. If it's on a streaming service, why charge $14 a ticket to see it when you are competing against $1 or $5 sounds right to them. So that might be one way. They might try and lower prices to get more people, but again, that costs them money, and it means that popcorn and soft drinks have to go up. Here's the thing. There might be hope for exhibition. As crazy and rose-colored glasses as it sounds, if the pandemic quells by summer, there conceivably could be competition for screens by studios, and exhibition could block simultaneous theatrical and streaming titles entirely. Only time will tell. There's another mindset that believes exhibition is certain to come out of this pandemic much smaller than anticipated, with even more local cinemas closing down. And that's what I think is going to happen, is that you're going to have a lot of local cinemas closing down. Obviously, a lot of the bigger chains closing down many of their theaters too, which means thousands upon thousands of workers will be left out in the cold. And remember, a lot of these workers are workers that can't really work anywhere else. They need to have the very lenient schedule. They need to have the flexible hours, and there really aren't a lot of jobs that allow for that. There's certain job positions, like for instance, being a ticket taker, that is very much suited for someone that can't move around a whole lot. We can think of other jobs where maybe they could do the same thing, but it's a lot harder to come by, right? Theaters are a commodity that are a lot more plentiful than other jobs that might have similar requirements. And so I do think that it is pretty big, but that is a good point, is that if the theaters can hold out at least till summer, when you have the major blockbusters coming out, and since obviously Warner is still expecting to get some of that money, some of that moolah from the theaters, if the theaters say, yeah, you know what, good luck with that, sorry, not going to happen unless you give us a good deal. Who knows? Maybe they could get a good deal that could eventually lead to them being able to make some money and to somehow survive. They're not the only ones there, right? So Warner Media's HBO Max movie sinks exhibition stocks, throws down streaming gauntlet. So shares across have just plummeted. So Cinemark shares up earlier this session lost nearly 22% of their value by the close on the news of that. That's insane. AMC was down 16%. Marcus 13%. IMAX fell 8%. And National Cinemedia pulled back 5%. So again, major losses across all of the different places. That's insane. Again, Cinemark especially, which has been one of the first theaters to come out of the pandemic, starting their theaters up again, has been the most consistent across the country, losing the most. That is huge for them. And again, that's just crazy that they're going to do that. It says the 17 films will leave the streaming service after their initial month. And also now the Regal owner has also put his word out there. It says Regal owner Cineworld reacts to Warner Brothers shakeup, believes studio will seek agreement on proper window and terms. So it says here that Cineworld Group, owner of Regal Cinemas in the United States and the world's second largest exhibitor, has reacted to this. Let's see if we can get to the actual statement. It says, here's the full statement. Cineworld was aware of Warner Brothers' plan to release Wonder Woman directly to its streaming service, which has been announced at a time when our cinemas remain closed in the United States and the UK. We are very encouraged by the giant steps achieved recently with regards to the COVID-19 vaccination process, which is expected to be put in place earlier than previously anticipated. Thank you, Trump administration, by the way, but no one's ever going to tell you that. This will generate significant relief for our industry and enable our cinemas to make a great comeback. We believe that at such a time, Warner Brothers will look to reach an agreement about the proper window and terms that will work for both sides. But big movies are made for the big screen, and we cannot wait to reopen our cinemas in Q1 in order to offer our customers, as always, the best place for experiences. So I think that is definitely looking at it from a more rose-tinted glasses perspective. I honestly do believe that they think that the studios are going to give them a good deal. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I think the studios have shown their hand. The studios have again, held all their films back, pushed all their films back, and now it's, we're just going to put it all on our streaming service and try and help ourselves out first and not do anything for this for the theaters. So they haven't cared about the theaters from the very beginning of all of this. And so I think the studios are going to try and play fair with these theaters when they essentially hold all the cards is just not going to happen, especially since the studios are all in support of massive bailouts, not only for them, but also for the theater chains too, because guess what? They want the theaters to stay open to an extent because they need them, right? In the summer releases, as even the Cineworld owner says, right? Big movies require big screens, and there's still a lot of profit to be made in the theatrical marketplace. But again, that is all under the assumption that they're going to play fair, and I just don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that this HBO Max news is a good thing? Again, I've heard mixed things from both sides. Some people say that they're going to cancel their HBO Max, that they're done, they're just not going to watch any of it. None of the films that they're going to be releasing anyway are that exciting, except for maybe a couple, and they don't care one way or the other. Others, of course, have said, yeah, well, theaters have been dying for a while, and so why not just quicken the process? And here's me kind of in that middle ground where it's, hey, I'm glad that I'll get instant access and won't have to leave my home, especially with a new baby, and not being able to leave the house anyway because we're trying to be very careful. Just because he doesn't have an immune system yet. Just in general, even without a pandemic, we would be doing that. So that is one part of it, is able to actually see these films and not have to worry about it. But at the same time, I love the theater, and I was always wanting to return to the theater once I was able to. And it breaks my heart. It really does, because I do love the theater experience, and I think that this is a terrible thing. And so I'm definitely more so on the side of people like Adam Aaron, and definitely also the Regal owner as well, where I hope that they come to play ball. I hope that they are able to make these deals, but based on how the studios have been acting, I doubt that very much so. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this and anything I mentioned in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. Make sure you share this video as well, because it really does help out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, go God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my December Patreon and Subscribe Star members, starting off with Patreon Albertus Magnus, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator Brian P., Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Miss Martin Muses, also known as Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bogend, Tina B, and the Modern Major General, Laura Story. Gotta give you that shout out for that one time that you were doubled up. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And now a huge shout out to all of my December Subscribe Star members we have over there with Stand For, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so much for being my Patreon and Subscribe Star members. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream on the main channel, please consider joining over on those platforms. You can also get access to things like exclusive giveaways of 4Ks, Blu-rays. If you want a DVD, I guess you could also get a DVD as well, digital codes, and of course, you get to possibly join me on the channel once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream and access to an exclusive podcast featuring John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun talking about movies and tons of other random things. Anyway, if you want to support these things, check out the links in the description of this video. And also, please consider joining my other channel, the OMB Report, where I talk about not just movies like I do over here, but I focus more so on politics, news, and culture in that order. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for your love and support. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.